Sandra Gardy.
Thank you, Mr Chair, and I'd just like to applaud the speeches from the excellent Minister, the Right Honourable Maurice Williamson, and the excellent Chair of the Primary Production Select Committee, Shane Ardern. They gave an excellent address on this dairy industry restructuring bill. And I have to say, I think Fonterra is a fantastic company for New Zealand who provides a large majority of its income from its export, and the hard work off the back of its farmers. You know, the farmers do an extraordinary job there, and so I'd just like to acknowledge them. And National has a proud history of supporting New Zealand farmers, quite contrary to the opposition. And I find it interesting that we've got a communist bagging another communist. This year, we announced hundreds of millions of dollars for research and development.
Trevor Mallard. Point of order. The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Well, Mr Speaker, I don't know if you were focusing on the comments that the member just made, but Sir, they have been ruled out of order on a number of occasions, and while it might not be the grievous insult that it was some years ago, to describe a member in that way is something which I think he would take offence to, and certainly it's been ruled out by speaker after speaker.
Well, to the member, I was listening very carefully, and I recall the words very carefully. And the member making the bagging of one to another did not identify a person in particular. So it was indirect in its reference.
Speaker, can I just respond to that? The member did say that the member she had just been listening to. I mean, there's only one person who spoke in front of her, sir.
Well, can I just say to the member, I didn't recall it that way. I just was interested to hear a communist bag a communist. Now, whether it was the person immediately before, the only person who made the connection directly was the member sitting here. And I want to just say to the person speaking that I'm not going to rule it out, but I just want to say that the point has been well made by Mr Mallard. You should not bring people into disrepute in this House. And that is a term which has been taken as offensive before. The member sailed very close to the wind, not over it. And I just invite the member to heed the warning and carry on.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I'll keep sailing.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, I'm doing this reluctantly, but because, as you know, I don't like arguing with you, sir. But that was not a marginal case or one close to the line. That was a member indicating that another member of this House was a communist. Sir, it's something that I was not the only one who made that connection. I think it's fair to say that the co-leader of the Green Party made that connection as well. I indicated that I would take the point of order. Sir, it was absolutely blatant. And it was, I think, offensive. It has been for a long time. Sir, I know that I'm relitigating a ruling, and I know that that's not a healthy thing to do in this House, sir, but I'd ask you to reflect on the ruling and say, just because it's being made by the comments being made by a relatively junior member who members don't take seriously, doesn't mean that you should rule as if, in the same way you would have if the Honourable, the Right Honourable, as she described him, Maurice Williamson, had made the comments.
Well, listen to the Honourable John Carter.
Just a couple of points, Mr Speaker. Firstly, actually, sir, your ruling's been challenged. You've already made your ruling. Secondly, a member actually can't take offence on behalf of another member. And thirdly, Mr Speaker, if I'm sure the leader of the Green Party had taken offence, she's quite capable of making that point herself. And quite honestly, the member hasn't referred to anyone directly. I was sitting right beside her and heard what she said. She didn't state it as the member has said. She just talked about one person to another. And the matter should lie as you have ruled, sir.
Well, I want to say that there's several points I want to make about this to the Honourable Trevor Mallard. Once the matter's ruled, it's ruled and that's it. It's not going back. Whether it's right or wrong, it's the end of the matter. And whether I've made a mistake in that, well, I just have to live with the thing. Having said to the member, I'm not going to require them to withdraw and apologise. I'm not going to turn around and then say, you have to withdraw and apologise. Just like in sport, the referee awards the try stands. That's the end of the matter. Closed. Game, set and match. The second element is the Honourable John Carter makes a point that you can only take offence on behalf of yourself. You can't take offence on behalf of someone else. And that's been long-standing in this House. And the third point that I would make, and I don't want to go over and relitigate this anymore, is that I thought on balance the member made the comment. I did not hear, had I heard the member make a reference to a person's name and the accusation, I would have seen it in a different light. They did not. You had to make the connection, be here and listen to the whole debate and to make all the connections. It wasn't that easy. But I have chided the member and made it clear to her that those sorts of references are unacceptable in that style, and if the member makes them either in this speech or a subsequent speech, I will tell her that she's to withdraw and apologise. Her final warning is on that. The matter's closed. I now call Sandra Gowdy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I shall continue to laud the excellence of our dairy farmers in New Zealand, in fact of all of the agricultural sector, and recognise the hard work that they do. And of course, I was one of those hard-working dairy farmers, and I understand what it takes to produce their export product for the benefit of New Zealand, and I just applaud them all for that. And this year, in support of the agricultural sector, we announced hundreds of millions of dollars for research and development in the rural sector. We're driving the primary growth partnerships to boost our rural sectors and global research alliance to find ways to make our farming sector more efficient, productive and environmentally friendly. So we're committed to delivering growth to ensure prosperity through all New Zealanders, and a large part of that, a huge part of that, is through our agricultural sector, and that's why it's so important that we do support our agricultural sector. So I just want to cover a few specific points in the bill, and concerns have been raised about the eligibility criteria for access by independent processors to the regulated raw milk made available under the DIRA. The government shares many of these concerns about the current eligibility criteria, and that's why we've committed to reviewing these so that all concerns can be considered in full. And we know that we do have the support of the majority of the House for that. So the Dairy Industry Restructuring Act 2001 promotes efficiency, and the pro-competition provisions ensure that Fonterra operates in an environment that is contestable and where it faces potential competitive pressure. And this environment drives Fonterra and the wider dairy industry to improve economic performance. So, look, we're looking to have a good discussion around this. We're pleased that the bill is going forward, and we welcome that opportunity to have that discussion.